whether it's
Yeah, and it's interesting because, as a lot of people do know, through Love Goals, they watched me do a lot of work with celebrities that they recognize. But what they don't realize is that I actually have a group practice. I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia, and I've been doing therapy for years and still do even now. As a matter of fact, I'll see therapists or see clients later on today when all of this is over.
oh wow.
And so my work really is about helping all of us, no matter where we are in our industries, to live our very best lives. And so what I've been seeing is a lot of exhaustion, a lot of anxiety, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of frustration, a lot of anger. We have lived through now this year a viral pandemic. We've lived through a racial pandemic. We've lived through financial instability and insecurity. We're wearing more hats than ever. You have millions of women who have dropped out of the workforce this year, trying to take care of home, trying to be teachers on these hybrid models, or while we're sheltering in place. There is a lot going on. And, we didn't even talk about the political climate. I'm in Atlanta. And so, we still have weeks to go before we see January the 5th, and then subsequently where that election will lead us. And so it's a very interesting time, and people are tired. It doesn't look like anything we've ever known. And so a lot of us don't even have the coping skills. We're not equipped to deal with this much stress at one time.
And then what do you do? What do you do when you have somebody that comes in and said, I don't even know what's wrong. I'm just stuck. And I think that word keeps coming to mind. We hear the word pivot a lot, and we hear the word, reinvention, and those are great. But I think before you do any of those, right, you've got to get unstuck a bit from where you are. How do you help people do that? Because we're stuck not only in whether it's career or whether it's home and it's family, just in identity in so many ways of who we are now. I mean, maybe we were somebody that was going to the office every day. Maybe we were somebody that was taking the kids to school, but then doing our career, and now we're at home. Or maybe we were in a relationship and wound up getting separated as a divorce as a result of what's going on during this time, and not able to get along with our partners. How do you get somebody unstuck, I guess is the word?
Yeah, well, I think about it in terms of stress management. Like everything that we do in life is stress. Some of it is good stress. We call it eustress. Examples of those are like, a job promotion, or a new baby that you were expecting and that you're ecstatic about, or a new move to a place that you want to move to. Those things are stressful and exciting all at the same time, right? And then there's negative stress that the body has. And those are things that your diet and exercise require of you, that help you walk across the room or do all of the things that you just talked about. But then there is that negative stress, right? The demands that are imposed upon us, whether it's our job responsibilities or the kids or the spouse or taking care of aging parents or just trying to manage our self-care. And so those kind of things, especially over time, if they're not well managed, they lead to chronic stress. And most of us don't recognize how much our physical and our mental health are tied into one another. They really are one and the same. And so if we don't manage that stress, then it actually takes its toll on us, and then it physically manifests. So we go from, having stress that we're not dealing with to all of a sudden now we've got high blood pressure, we've got infertility issues, we've got insomnia, we've got fatigue, we've got all of these things that are happening to us. And we think that the issues are physical reasons when they're really mental health manifestations. And so it's trying to help people understand that your life is just one ball of stress, and your body remembers every last thing that's ever happened to it, even if you can't consciously remember it. So how do we help you deal with all of the stress that you're carrying that you've yet to kind of make sense of and have peace with, so that you can get unstuck and move forward? Usually when you're stuck, it's because you're crushed under the weight of all of the stress that you're carrying.
Oh, it's so true. I, just for myself several months ago, and aside from everything that we're all going through together, and because I just think we're all, we are all in this. This is the one time where we say we're all in this. I turned, went into my next decade of 50, and it was really, I lost my mom when she was 50. So 50 to me is a very frightening,
it's a critical number.
It's a critical number. And so I never saw anything past that as my mother figure, my mother. And so for 50, for me, it was very startling. And so for several months before, and even now I go, I feel that crushing thing, which is why I said I've got to get out there and start talking to people to help other people, because I'm not the only one. I know when I have a problem, I'm definitely not the only one. So whether it's somebody that's doing aging or divorce, or if it's relationship, or it's children, or whatever it is, or health issues, I think it's important as we go into this new year. We know, I keep hearing people go, it's 2021's coming. But the truth of the matter is, we're still going to be dealing with a lot of the things that we've dealt with in 2020. And I don't think we can fool ourselves into saying that everything's going to change the minute that the clock strikes, midnight, and we flip over and say Happy New Year. And I don't want people to be disappointed by that, but rather realize that there is opportunity to kind of redirect.
Yeah, we got to set those realistic expectations, and also recognize that the things that we're aware of, but that we kind of cast off to the side, it's always the music that's playing in the background. So even for you, where you have recognized your whole life, my mother transitioned at this decade. What does that mean to me? What does that mean for me? How do I not take on that history, but how am I also aware of it? How do I realize, I am not my mother necessarily, but that history is very real. And what does that play? What role does that play in my life? Like, all that stress is constantly happening in your body and in your mind, even when you're not thinking about working through it. So it's very real.
Yeah, you're right. And I didn't even realize it was a thing. I couldn't articulate it for 50 years. Really, I couldn't articulate it because I didn't know what it was. It was just sitting in there. You're right. It's like music playing in the background. So I feel like a lot of people, they have different songs, but they're all playing. If you look to give somebody, I think tips are a little too small for what you do. I think your advice is, I
got tips. I got tools. I got
level. But if you say to somebody, look, here's the 3 things if you want to really have goals that are not those goals, like I'm going to lose 20 pounds, I'm going to go, work out, I'm going to work out at home on Zoom every single day. Some of those things are not realistic, and they just don't work, or they work for a week and then they stop working. What can you tell people to try to do if they do want to do a reset for this next year?
What I have to tell folks is that it's about not necessarily resetting, but just reprioritizing, right? Because we're always in progress. So we can't go back to any particular place and say, I want to do that part again. And oftentimes we have to reprioritize because how we see that, we're so judgmental with ourselves. I have women, for example, who will say, Spirit, I still have my clothes in the closet from high school, and I'm going to get back into that size 6 pair of jeans, no matter that was 20 years ago and I'm a size 16 now. And I have to sometimes say, so you're forcing your womanly body to reconform to your childhood or your adolescent body, not even realizing that we don't even fully mature until the age of 25 or after we have our first child. So like parts of your body hadn't even reached full maturity, but you don't know that because no one has told you that. And so we hold ourselves hostage. We put ourselves in these really judgmental spaces, and it really works against where we're trying to go. So instead, what I like to do is help people reprioritize. What's going to work for what your life looks like now? How do you realize that you're never going to be perfect? You're never going to hit that mark 100% of the time, but every time that you do, that moves you towards the goal that you want. Also, I like to teach people to begin with the end in mind. Instead of saying, this is what I'm going to do and I'm going to do it this way, I say, let's work backwards. Where do you want to end up? And then what steps will it take you from where you are now in order to be able to get there? Because if we don't look at those things, also the pitfalls are the challenges and the barriers. Who are going to be the people that are going to thwart your success? Whether it's you, whether it's your spouse, whether it's your children, whether it's your job, the barriers are the things that usually stop us from getting there. And then the other part of that is, what do you want the experience to feel like? We get so caught up sometimes on having to meet a goal that we forget if it's taken us a year or two to achieve that, if we cried, if we've sacrificed, if it's been a painful part of the journey, is that really what you want to be experiencing in this right now? And so we forget to be intentional about the experiences that we want to create in our lives. We're so much about hitting marks. I want to be together with this person for 10 years, but you didn't talk about what the quality of that 10 years was going to be, which is more important, right? So how can we be intentional about the journey? How can we set real unrealistic expectations for where we are, and how can we prioritize those things in a way that makes sense for the life that we're trying to live, not some fantastical life that everybody else thinks that we should be living.
Or the one that we're scrolling through on Instagram that we're imagining.
Oh my God! Listen, our office, that's our whole thing. We say, let us teach you how to live the life you perpetrate on social media, right? Like this whole FOMO thing, this whole snapshot that took 30 pictures in order to get just the right one. It's a myth. It doesn't exist. Like
I could do 300 and I still can't figure it out.
And then put a filter on top of that and change the lights and the angles.
I know. It's so much. Okay, so love goals is dealing with you're counseling celebrity couples and talking to them who are at a crossroads in their relationship. And I know a lot of people have talked about relationships during this time. All the time, really. I think there's never a bad time to be dealing with a relationship, right? Because we either have it with ourselves and with somebody else. I went through my own divorce and wrote a book called The New Single years ago, and that was a turning point for me, and I didn't know what my goal. I didn't know what my goal was, and luckily I came out the other side and met somebody, and I'm very, very happy. Not somebody I maybe would have looked for 10 years ago, but certainly somebody that like those jeans fits my lifestyle now, where I am, and I couldn't be happier. And I don't have any of the doubts that I might have had 5 or 10 years ago. When people are talking about relationships and they look to you and they see, people at crossroads, what can you do to help people that are in a situation where they said, look, I'm just so sick of this person. Like, I've been cooped up with them now for 9 months. It's enough. I see all the terrible habits. I can't stand how they chew, how they snore, how they do this, how they do that. I'm done. What are you seeing a lot of those people come in to your practice when you're, not on camera, but you're doing your practice behind closed doors?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I tell folks is, one, we have to be gentle with ourselves, right? This is a really different kind of time that we're in. And so the pressure cooker feeling is a very real thing. So part of this is, if it's just to the point where you went from pre-COVID, I can't live without this person. I can't breathe without them. And now 9 months in, you're thinking, I don't want to hear them breathe anymore.
Okay.
If you're having that experience, then I want you to take into consideration that there could be some COVID effect, if you will.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so we are just in tight quarters. We're all restless. We're all irritable. We're all fatigued. Our emotional bandwidths are not what they were prior to this. So I would say take it with a grain of salt. And what we focus on in those instances is more about self-care first. You can't pour from an empty cup. And if you are just absolutely fatigued, then giving to anybody or having anybody in your personal space may just be more than what you can deal with. Sure. So in those instances, we really look at, how do we take care of the person? Then how do we take care of the couple? Then how do we take care of the family? And sometimes it's just about some of those steps that I talked about: reprioritizing, setting goals, being intentional about feelings and those kind of things. Those things become very, very significant and help and go a long way in those instances. But I will say that's very different than being in a relationship where you are having the aha moment that perhaps I've always been unhappy, or I've been unhappy for a long time. This relationship hasn't been serving me. But unfortunately, now I'm forced to, life has slowed down in such a way.
Sure.
I don't have my family and friends to kind of escape to. I don't have my job to bury myself in. I have to deal with the fact that this relationship is not working. Then that's the time and place to really do some processing, to really look at where you are, really look at where you're trying to go and how this relationship fits in your life. And so I tell clients all the time that your relationship is a reflection of where you are. We date and marry at the level of our self-esteem. And so it becomes, what is your relationship saying about you? The behavior that you're accepting, the way that you're showing up, what you're giving, what you're getting. It's not about the partner. It's really about you. And are you creating and having the kinds of experiences that you want? And if not, how do we empower you to see your role in that, and also empower you to see your ability to change that? Because it's really not about anybody else. It's really about your own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, and moving yourself into the places and spaces that you want to be in.
Gosh, I couldn't agree with you more. And it is so true. And it's not an easy place when you realize when you take the time to slow down and realize what the relationship is, and if it's not serving you anymore. It brings me to my next thing, and because I want to make sure we get this in: apart but not alone.
Mm,
Something that you're doing on Zoom. It's a Zoom room, 27 hours, which I
yeah.
already said that you need some serious coffee. But
Some serious coffee,
talk,
some
about
wheatgrass, some lemon shots, everything.
a little bit of everything, a little taste. But talk about what it is and how people can be a part of it for New Year's.
Absolutely. Well, Apart But Not Alone is a safe space series that we've done. We actually developed it out of a need during the Thanksgiving holiday. And what it is my office, as well as many of our colleagues and some of our new colleagues that we have befriended around the world, we recognize that we all need safe spaces, not just during the holiday. And it's not about whether or not you celebrate or subscribe to any particular holiday, but it's really just a reminder that although we are physically apart, we are never alone unless we choose to be. And so we did this for Thanksgiving. We also were then voluntold, if you will, to do it for Christmas. And we decided also to do it for New Year's. And we got very ambitious with New Year's because we wanted to make sure that no person anywhere in the world would bring in 2021 alone. And so we were literally looking at 5 a.m., on the East Coast. I don't know what that is, General Means time.
Yep.
But we decided an hour before the first part of the world celebrates the new year and an hour after the last part of the world celebrates the new year, that there would be a safe space for people to come into, to laugh, to cry, to play games, to dance, to sing, to talk about feelings. It's been tremendous. We've had people from the United States connect with people from Johannesburg and London and the UK.
How cool is that?
It's been amazing to watch people come into a room and say, hey, how are you? Hey, what do you need today? And
that is great.
I just need to be seen, or I'm in a stressful environment and I just needed a break from that, or I just wanted to give some love because I'm so excited. I wanted to come in and pray for people. Is that okay? I mean, it's an incredible organic experience. And I invite anybody and everybody to drop by, whether it's for a few minutes or for all day long. The room will always be attended. Someone will always be there. You may be physically distant, but you are never, ever alone.
Yeah, I think, we all need the same thing. We need to be seen and we need to be heard.
Yes.
And that's really, really important.